There.
Hold on, I'm looking.
Now it's live.
Hello, everybody. This is my fault. I didn't go live on LinkedIn. It's absolutely my blonde moment today. I just started chatting away with Fanny, our wonderful guest.
We got caught up.
And then I'm so happy that you've got your fan base. You brought your fan base with you. I need one of those. I feel like I'm left out. But I love you. I love you all for coming. So I do see Denise, Anne, Jada, Rebecca. Hello, everybody.
There we go. Yes.
So now everyone hopefully can see us. And I'm gonna have to repeat that then.
Go for it. Yes.
So everyone, Fanny, welcome again to the show. So Fanny is a marketer, a LinkedIn expert, an entrepreneur, and she also has a fabulous live show. And I believe your show is bi-monthly. Is that right? So twice a month?
Bi-weekly. Yes.
Bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every
Okay.
2 weeks I have a
Every
show.
2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I tried doing the weekly and it's hard. It's overwhelming.
Well, there you go. That's a good point because we're talking about, now that people can use the creator mode and you can just turn it on and you can go live. All you need is that third-party app to actually facilitate, which is Restream or StreamYard. A lot of entrepreneurs and professionals are thinking, should I ever use this or not? And they're intimidated. And the questions I'm getting from people are, how to come up with all that content so that I don't launch my show and then have nothing, no new guests, no content lined up and I burn out. And then number 2, the equipment. There's some really fancy podcasters, live streamers who make everyone else feel a little bit intimidated, right? You're like, oh no. And then the third question is how to promote it because just even me in the past couple of days, I've had a really I opened a support ticket with LinkedIn because I can't invite people to my events. And normally LinkedIn says you're supposed to be able to invite up to 1,000 people per week.
Yes.
And that's total. So if you have 7 events, that all of that would be counted as one.
You got to divide it by the 7.
But it's also kind of a hassle process. It's very tedious. And so any tips to promote the show? So let me back up and let me ask, before we go into those answers, I want to ask you, when did you start your show and why? What was did you apply for LinkedIn Live while it was still in beta?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. So I got to give a quick shout out to Trevor Houston. He was kind of like my inspiration and my huge shove. He's like, just do it, Fanny, just do it. Because I was already creating content on LinkedIn. And so I finally applied. This was even before creator mode was around. And I applied in the end of 2019 and I heard nothing, crickets. Right. So I was like, okay, fine. I give up, whatever. I submitted my, application. It is what it is. And then lo and behold, March 2020, I get a little notification on the side. Your, LinkedIn Live functionality is suddenly on. I'm like, oh my goodness, it came through. And that's exactly when COVID started. And so I thought it's like a sign, from the universe that it's time to really kind of take it online, digital. And we were all hunkered down, right at that, that March 2020 mark when COVID first started. And that's when I just was like, okay, StreamYard, I'll just kind of like click go and just started talking. And then people started popping up and community started and just started building that relationship. And honestly, that first year, I didn't even really know what I was doing. The first few episodes, I was just kind of rambling and talking about content creation. And then over time, and I think that also happens is like over time, you start to kind of figure out what you really want to talk about and why you want to be online. And And looking back, if I were to start all over, and this is also what I kind of advise my clients on, you really have to decide why. Like, why do you want to have a show?
Mhm.
Um, and and a lot of it, I think, boils down to kind of like three answers, maybe, that the three categories that it would fall into. The first one being, you just want to build community, right? You want to have a way to interact with your audience, get to know your audience, because sometimes content creation is kind of like a one-way street, even though you can
Absolutely.
have comments, but you don't get to kind of have that live interaction. And people, just see pre-recorded videos versus like a live where they really see all your ins and outs and how you behave. And um, so that would be kind of like the first reason. Like, if you really want to build a deeper community and deeper relationship with your audience, that would be one reason. Another reason might be that you want to kind of like have it be a form of lead generation, right? So you
Mm,
invite people on there that you think might be potential clients or potential people you want to grow in your network. And so you're really building an audience and guest lists around connections you want to have, right? And potential leads you might want to have. And then the third one is also just kind of like, I think of it as like this huge machine for content, right? Because there's nothing like just going live and you can't like take back your words, you just go. But once you create it and if you plan it out properly, then you're going to have tons of little pieces of content that you can chop up and pull out of your live stream and repurpose for all the other platforms in short form content. So you really have to just ask yourself, like, why? Why do you want to do it? Is it for community? Is it for lead generation? Or is it for content? And that's typically the three reasons that I find people want to do it.
wow, that's amazing. Do you have any tips about not to burn out?
Yes.
Let's hit the nail on the head from the day one, because as you know, live streamers are notorious for burnout.
Yes.
So I see all the time live streamers telling, like, I took a break anywhere from 7 days to up to 3 months. I've seen some of them go offline and be like, I just
Yeah.
really needed that break.
Yeah.
Uh, so, you've gone down to every other week.
Yes.
Was that the real sweet spot for you? It was just like, I need to manage this better and
Yeah. Yeah. Because the first year I was trying to do every week, and it just consumed me, right? Because then I had guests, and so I was trying to arrange guests, and then there's always something technical that you have to kind of like mess with, right? Even if you've done live streaming for years and like tons of episodes, there's always something that you got
Mhm.
to be tweaking, right? Like, and so it was too much for me, but that's because my main business is not a live show. My main business is coaching clients and consulting with clients. And I think
Right,
same
right,
with you, right? You have an
right.
academy, you have
Yep.
clients. So if the content itself is not your bread and butter and you use it to build community or have kind of interactions, then I don't think you need to do it every week. You kind of come on and showcase a bit of what you know, interact with the audience, have guests, and you can really still have a steady stream of people and engagement, even if you do it every other week, as long as you set the intention ahead of time, right?
Mhm.
And I find that way you have better quality shows. You have time to think. I had more time to think and like come up with better questions or do research on the guests. And I find that, and especially like a lot of some of my team is in there in the comments, like Ann Small and Rebecca. Like, over time, you can't even do it alone because it gets really big and unwieldy, especially if you have lots of questions or comments coming in. And so, you start to build a team. I built a team, and Small is my community manager. Rebecca's my live producer. And then that way I can concentrate on the guests. So you can really kind of like grow depending on where you are. At the beginning, just start out by yourself. I mean, it's a great test bed. I love this quote where it's like, let your time in obscurity prepare you for popularity. So at the
Oh,
beginning, when you're starting out, it doesn't matter. There's nobody watching anyways. So make your mistakes, try things out, and then from there, step by step, show by show, then you can grow from there and tweak from there.
I love it. So we have a question from the audience.
Mm.
So Juana wants to know, I just started a weekly live show, but don't focus on a specific topic.
Mm.
The only common thread is they're entrepreneurs. So she knows
Mm.
who she's talking to, but she doesn't know what to tell them.
Yeah. So Juana, I'm not sure what Juana does, but maybe you can drop that into the comments, Juana. I would be interested to know what your specialty is. So what kind of service you might provide to entrepreneurs. And so there's two ways, right? There's who you want to target. So in that case, your entrepreneurs. And then there's what you want to talk about, right? And I would always I would advise that you structure what you talk about to the services that you offer. So if you are, um, about providing financial advice to entrepreneurs, then maybe you have your show structured around um, accounting or tax or finance or however you want to structure that.
Mhm.
Or if you're interested in branding for entrepreneurs, then maybe have a branding for entrepreneurs show, right? So talk about branding tips and advice. Let's see here. She markets podcasts through repurposing to help podcasters boost their reach and brand authority. Ah,
That's
nice.
a really good
Okay.
niche too.
That
It's
is, that
yeah.
is. Okay. So then podcasting advice, right? Every week you can come on and talk about different pain points that you think your audience is having around podcasting. And break it down. I always say, like, break it down. Like, week one might be around equipment for podcasters. Week two might be around content for podcasters. Week three might be around consistency for podcasters, and so forth. And like, just sit down and make a list of all the pain points that you think entrepreneurs have around podcasting. And then each one of those pain points can become a show topic. So that's one way to do it.
No,
Um,
that's great advice. And I think one of the things I'd add for Juana is I do a lot of polls and I know they're not
mm,
popular. People are complaining, but the truth is people always answer my polls.
they're
And
good.
and so I poll both my LinkedIn audience and my email subscribers. And I'm just like, quick question,
Yeah.
what are you struggling with most in September? Like, is September a trigger month for you in your business? What is going on in your
Mm,
business? And I give them options. So instead of leaving it as an open question, I think that the reason people answer polls is because it's easy. It's like taking a multiple
yeah,
choice test. You just have to
it
click
is. One
time
click.
time management, stress, money, marketing, focus, like knowing what to focus on. So you and I, we deal with the same people, so we already know pretty much what they might be struggling with.
Yeah.
And so I run these polls semi regularly, Juana, and then I turn those into live streams. For example, if they would answer, they would say, I'm struggling most with marketing. Well, I would say, okay, here's 5 ideas that they might not be using yet: live streaming, newsletters, carousel posts. You hear where I'm headed here? And then I will invite 5 guests who can show that. So I'd be like, oh, let me bring on a live streaming expert. Let me bring on somebody who has a great newsletter. Like you, let me bring on someone who has a great show to talk to my audience, because
Yeah.
then you inspire people and you plant that seed of what they're doing. So that's something I would advise to Juana to try is, if you're dealing with entrepreneurs and you want to know what are they struggling with most with marketing their podcast, what aspect of podcast marketing do they find the most difficult? Is it knowing where to repurpose? Is it the technical, actual cutting it up, repurposing it, like the preparation part? Or is it something else, And then you find experts who can come in and say, okay, here's what I do with my podcast and share that to your audience. Or find an expert who does repurposing and says, I work for companies I run a company to repurpose content. Here's how we would advise that. And so you'll make your audience very interested all the time, right, Juana?
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
we had another question here I left on screen. Rebecca wants to know, so we've been talking about like entrepreneurs, but what about professionals? Does LinkedIn, like starting a show, why would somebody start a show if they're like a new professional?
As in like a graduate, you think, or as an employee? Maybe. Well, let's tackle both. Like if you're
I
in
would
a corporate,
think an
right?
employee. I mean, when she
Okay,
says new professional, I would
got
think
it.
like I'm an employee, because most people on LinkedIn are employees. So
Yes.
they might feel left out. They may be like, well, the shows aren't for me. Why not? Right?
Yes, absolutely. Um, in fact, there's a term these days called, we've all heard of the creator economy, right? But there's also the creator employee, where employees now are starting to build their brands, and they can build them concurrently with their company brand, right? With their company. And it's great. I think I'm working with one client where they've built a whole show, a live show around a variety of topics that tie in with the services that they offer to their clients. But then they'll have maybe one employee from their company be on the show, as well as a potential client or somebody in academia or somebody that's in a similar field or on the business side. And so they create these panel shows. And so that's another way where, as an employee, you can still be on a show in collaboration with your company. And that's one way to do it. Or you can work out something with your company. Let's say you are let's say you are very passionate about leadership, right? And leadership qualities and leadership coaching or leadership development in your company. You could start a show and maybe interview different people in your company as well as outside guests. And you never even have to mention the company. It might just be like a small logo in the top corner, but it's still a great subtle way to build brand for the company as well as yourself. And then you can talk all about, in this case, leadership development, and it would make for a great show. And you're not only getting exposure for yourself, but also for your company, and that'll help with promotions and visibility with your senior management. It's actually a great way to go.
So that's interesting. So I could see that being, if your management approves that and they
Mhm.
are happy about that, I
Yeah.
could see that being even grounds for getting you promoted. Like people would really be like, wow, look what she's
Yeah.
doing or look what he's doing for the company. But I actually was thinking when I read Rebecca's question of another
Mm.
route, I was thinking more along the lines of, I have a 21-year-old, so I'm very passionate about branding. And
Mm.
I taught him that he should never ever align himself with his company. He should always
Mm.
keep his brand to himself and
Mm.
make sure that he's completely detached. And the reason I say this is my own experience. I
Mm.
gave everything to my company. And I mean,
Yeah.
I basically didn't post at all on my own socials. It was all on behalf of my company, mentioning my company. And
Mm.
Then when I tried to build my solo business, I felt like I was 10 years behind, like I'd lost 10 years.
Mm.
And so what I was thinking is, why not build a podcast or a live show from day one that addresses like-minded peers? For example, my son is a Gen Z, so he could have a show talking about what Gen Z are feeling. What is it like to start out your career? What is it like to be 21 and trying to find a job in this kind of difficult economy? And just have like chats, maybe even with a co-host, one of his friends, and then
Yep.
maybe have like a Joe Rogan style podcast, to be honest, like just because a lot of other people are interested in what that age group is thinking and what they think about or what they care about.
Mm.
Um, so I could see that being really powerful
Yeah.
because to be
All our
honest,
options. Absolutely.
I feel like this is my media channel, even if it's live streamed on LinkedIn or on YouTube.
Mm.
I own this channel and no one can take that from me, so I don't want to I don't want to share it with like, unless it would be like what you were just describing. That could be interesting. That could be like,
Yeah.
would my employer really promote me doing that?
Mm.
But it could go both ways. So there you go, Rebecca.
Good.
But I love
Yeah.
that question because I do feel like sometimes employees or students, they feel kind of confused about what to do with their brand. And
Mhm.
hey, look who we have here. Gabe says 200. Yay. He,
Hey.
he's,
Oh,
he's
so
an
good to see
example.
you, Gabe.
He's an example is
Yes.
doing this. So let's see. Okay, so Denise has something to say. I love that. Creator employees. I think everyone in the corporate world should build their brand and also build a platform around the company. They may shift from company to company, so that will always change, but your brand may be the same. So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
trade-off, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like either or, but you could also do both. Like if you're running a podcast for yourself, then if you are like, okay, once a month I'm gonna do it on behalf of the company, and then you become the go-to person in your company for live streaming and that,
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
you gain some clout, and that can only be good for you. But let me put it this way. What I always tell people is put yourself first. Never put the
Mhm.
company first, because the company is always temporary. Your brand is you, and you will live on after the company. Um, and I know that's probably contrary to what most employers will tell you, like do everything for your company. But I've seen it with so many layoffs where people lost
Yeah.
everything. Like they built the
Absolutely.
entire brand for the company, and then the company is like, you're aged out, you're too old now, we want a younger person on this position, or we're just doing layoffs because we can, and so bye.
Mhm.
So I would really do both if you decide to go the corporate
So one
straight.
thing that you could do, and it's almost it's kind of like ties into what you're saying, Krista, is let's say you're passionate about customer service, right? And so you create a whole show around customer service, and that's something that you're very passionate about, and that could be one aspect of what your employer at that time believes in. And so now and then you can rope them in. But then to your point, the hybrid way is basically your show's all about customer service. And no matter what employer you're with or throughout your career, right? You can still have that show and have that topic, and it just ties into different employers. So it's
Yes,
just, there's many, many ways to kind of like peel it and structure it. The most important thing is to stick with what you're passionate about and what you know.
I love that. So along those lines, sticking with what you know, so
Mm.
like what Juana asked, I think that you and I both agree that that's really important to stick to one topic. So some people I know have these open-ended podcasts, like I was saying, like a Joe Rogan style.
Yeah,
Um, but wouldn't you agree it depends what your goals are? Like when you said
it
the why,
is.
you said earlier the why. So if you're trying to
Mhm,
sell a service
mhm.
and you're just chatting, then you may attract people, but they may not put 2 and 2 together. Like,
No,
if I'm watching you and you're really entertaining, I'll just come back and I'll be a fan, but I might
yeah,
never go over to your official LinkedIn profile, look up, "Oh, she actually offers some completely different service that hire
yeah,
her." So I think it's a trade-off if you're gonna entertain people
yeah.
or you're gonna showcase your expertise and
Mhm.
build a personal brand around one topic.
Yeah,
And that may be hard for some people, but when people ask me, "Well, I don't know what to post about," I'm like, "Well, what is your passion?"
yeah.
And you could do a podcast or a live show around something that you're not selling either, but that
Mhm.
you wanna grow a passion around, like something that's really dear to you, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, Joe Rogan is he's all about popularity, right? He
Yeah.
wants to just have a show. So his goal was to make the show super, super popular, and then one day Spotify just paid him a huge amount of money, and there you go, right? Joe Rogan is not selling consulting services or B2B advice, right? So he's all about like getting these huge famous people and then having these like controversial or like kind of thought provoking topics, right? And that works for him because all he wanted is, in my opinion, huge, huge popularity. And that's great for him, right? So if that's what you just want to be known, you want like huge popularity, then pick super, super popular topics and go wide and try to appeal to tons and tons of people, right? But I think Krista, you and I we're entrepreneurs, right? We have services we want to offer, or coaching, or consulting, or those of you out there like podcasting services or whatever other services. Then you got to be targeted, right? You got to be intentional and purposeful with your show so that you
Absolutely.
attract the right people to you, both audience members as well as potential clients. So again, it goes back to why. Why do you want to do it? Do you want popularity and huge audience, or you want a niche, or you want to build your network, build your connections, and build content, right? So really ask yourself why. Why do you want to do it?
Okay, so we covered the why and we covered the topics that you should do it on.
Yeah.
What is your advice for the logistics? Because I think people
Mm,
think, "Oh, it's gonna be so much work," like, you know, downloading the
yeah.
video, uh, some people get really elaborate. Like, I was just on
Hmm.
this woman's website earlier today, and every video has been, like, downloaded, re-uploaded, transcribed,
Yeah.
extracts are on the page, then it's all timestamped so you don't even
Yeah.
literally every single video, then there's a downloadable attachment for every episode. I was like, "Wow," like, you just feel like
A lot of time. Mhm.
and that's not her full-time business. She's like
Mm,
us, she's a marketer.
mm, mm.
And so I assume, when I see this as a business owner, I just assume she has hired a good team and that there's
Mhm.
somebody who's taking the TLC, the tender loving
Yeah.
care of this page. But if you're just starting out and you don't have that yet in place, what are some simple tips that
Yeah.
kind of you practiced when you were back in 2020 growing your podcast?
Yeah. I mean, equipment wise, I mean, just a simple webcam. I don't like laptop webcams, so I would invest at least in like a Logitech webcam, for instance, and start there, right? So you have a decent image, right? And when you're starting, so this is all when you're starting out, right? And when you're starting out, even something just like you know, a headset with microphone so that your sound is slightly targeted, right? Or even just the Apple white headphones. Those are great to start, right? So at least you have kind of hone in on your audio and have a decent image. So that would be for the beginners. Um, Now, kind of like intermediate, I have a SLR camera now. And so you can get like the blurry background and then a sharper image. And then, you and I both have the Yeti mics, right? So it just kind of directs it. Exactly. Yeah, I have a Sony uh, A6400. What do you have
So
for
I have
our?
a Canon M50.
Yeah. So Sony, Canon, just something that's like a slightly higher level. I think for the intermediate. And then this is a Yeti Blue. Is that a Yeti Blue, I think?
Yeah,
Right?
same thing.
Yeah, those are
And then I just
great.
have these tripods and I take this off if I'm using my phone or if
Yeah,
I'm using this on the tabletop. Um,
absolutely. And those are
I
perfectly,
have
they're great. Because then you don't need all the extra wires. And then I've interviewed, in fact, on Thursday, I have Zach. Uh, oh gosh, his name
Zach
suddenly.
Wears Tech. No, what's his website? Uh,
We are video makers. Zach
yes,
of We Are
yes,
Video Makers.
exactly. Yeah.
And he's a super duper YouTuber. And so he has like mics with audio recording and like
Same camera.
$1,000 mics and all that. And and those are great too, right? It just depends on what level you're at or where you want to kind of go. I think if live stream is not your main business, unless you're like out there selling live streaming services or live streaming hosting or whatever, you don't necessarily need to go to that level. And
Mhm.
nowadays, even in Dallas, Fort Worth, there are studios where you can go and like everything's ready, everything's all set up, and you just show up and then you host and talk and you're done. Right. And so, but if you're starting out, a decent webcam and then like headphones that have the mic on them, that's all you need. And from there, if you're not even sure what to talk about, I would even just hop on and just chat with your community and get used to that feel of interacting. Um, I used to think like everything had to be perfect, and it doesn't, right? Wouldn't you agree, Krista? Like if you're uncertain of your topic, just get on and start chatting and see what your audience is interested in, and go from there. And once you are certain, then definitely hone in and then start to kind of create a whole content and invite guests that all tie into your topic.
So talking about repurposing, we've got Jada. So she's showing up as LinkedIn user, but it's Jada over on LinkedIn.
Mm.
And she says she has a weekly live stream. It's a passion project, side hustle. She's trying to grow her YouTube channel and putting everything over to other social channels. So what she wants to know is how about extracting the audio from that YouTube channel show and the weekly
Mhm.
live stream and using that to create a traditional audio podcast. And she
Mm.
wants to know, what do we think about that? So
I say yes to everything. What I mean by that is definitely have the video be available. Because what's happened with Spotify is Spotify not only takes your audio, but it will take your video now. So you can have video podcasts on Spotify. So if you're already recording the video and you have also obviously the audio, you can load both onto Spotify, and people then have a choice to listen to it either just the audio or the video plus audio. So the options are endless. So if you're going to do it, go all out, have both the video and the audio, and that way you can always extract it. Apple Podcasts is still only audio, so your audio can go there, and then both can go to Spotify. And we stream it. Our team, we stream it all through Anchor,
Anchor's good.
Anchor.fm. Right? Do you use that, Krista?
I used to. Now I use Libsyn,
Mm,
but
you like
but
that
I'm
one?
thinking, yeah, but I'm also thinking now to do Riverside because
Yeah.
Riverside FM records locally, whereas
Yes.
as you can see, my internet, I have a great camera, but I don't
Yeah.
use it because my internet bandwidth can't handle the output. The
Yeah.
output is like 4K, and
Yep.
I think I'm probably streaming at like a 540p quality. So now I'm
Mhm.
talking geek talk, guys, but this is like
Yeah.
video output.
Yeah.
So it's blurry.
Zach's a huge fan of Riverside too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
love it.
it's definitely something I want to explore. I use a Restream myself just
Restream's
because
good.
I like that. I mean, I think if you have a
Globally.
lot of guests, I think
Mhm.
Restream is really good because your guests can pair with your channel and go together. Mhm.
Exactly.
That's the thing too.
So I think
Mm.
it's actually Andrew, and Andrew, so he's the LinkedIn user. I'm sorry, it's not Jada, but earlier I saw Jada was having the same problem where she shows up as LinkedIn user. So anybody
Ah,
watching, if that's one of, if we tell you, we put up your comment and you're showing up as a LinkedIn user, what you have to do to correct this is go to click on the me on your photo of LinkedIn, and then click on settings, so privacy, and then you need to find the tab that says authorized third-party applications, uh, because it's the same problem as having your photo hidden and you don't know it.
yeah.
So you have to go in, do some cleanup there, because you might discover that there's other things that other people can't see.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's too bad, because if you're trying to get hired on LinkedIn, do business on LinkedIn, there's multiple situations where if your privacy settings aren't configured to be public, that people can't even send you emails. Like I've tried to send a
Yeah.
couple of people emails, and it's like,
Email
Fanny
required
Fanny
or
only
something.
accepts email from people who know her email. Enter her email now. And I'm like, why would you possibly go onto a public platform like LinkedIn and then hide all your contact info? Like, and I'm pretty sure that they just don't know it, that
Yeah.
they just don't realize. So that's what's happening with the LinkedIn user. So little side note for anyone watching who has to go in and check yours. But I
Great
appreciate
tip.
your time. This was really awesome. I think, people overemphasize the equipment a lot, to be honest. I'm kind of over that. And it's true that you can go nuts on the equipment. I
Mm.
mean, just go to YouTube and look up
Yeah.
cameras and microphones
There's
and
gear for everything.
the gear. Well, we were talking about earlier, the touchpad thing with the lights on it, right? There's
Yeah.
crazy stuff, and I think it makes sense. If the more that you use the live stream, the more you're going to want to upgrade, and you're always like, it's not human nature. We're always thinking to go next level, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
now it's like when you get into a sport and then you buy a bike, and at first you get like a $500 bike. Pretty soon you've got a $4,000 bike. You're like, how did that happen? It's because you're obsessed with this thing, or you're doing it
Yeah.
so frequently. So I think,
If I can
okay.
offer one little thing around that, at the end of the day, though, you can have a half decent image and good enough audio, but if your content is stellar and if your content creates a lot of value, that trumps like super high definition, super high sound, and not so good content. So for anyone out there that thinks equipment and money is needed for that, no, it's all about the content. All about the content.
Do you have any advice for people, Fanny, um, to produce better content?
Mm. I I do believe in scripting. Not in terms of like line by line, but I do believe in like having you know, general questions thought out or general topics thought out, and then you can wing it from there. And and that way you're always thinking about how am I going to repurpose my content after that? Because then I
Mhm.
can chop out that question, that answer, that answer, that answer, or this segment.
Oh, I like that.
So even if you just do like a bullet points of like a sample show agenda for yourself, like I would definitely advise audiences to kind of think of it along that way. Just have like a general bullet point agenda, and then that way for every question or every topic, you know that that can later on be cut out into micro content that you could put elsewhere. And even now, like these days, it's vertical, right? On TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts, and you could like still cut out this vertical frame here, and then that can go out into your vertical videos, even though this is like 1920 by 1080. So you can start to think about stuff like that. And so that way, you know that the content can be repurposed both horizontally as well as vertically. Because what I've done before is like right now we're side by side, but for vertical repurposing, you can even cut it and then put us top to bottom in post editing.
Oh, wait, no, there is one. No, I'm playing around. I'm looking like,
Yeah,
oh, there you
do
go.
stuff like that. Yeah,
No, no. I'm trying to figure
that's
out.
the beauty of StreamYard.
Actually, StreamYard needs to come up with a way to put us vertical. Wouldn't that be cool to stack us?
Yeah.
So we have Vicky in the audience, and I want to shout her out because Vicky O'Neill, she does every Tuesday a vid chat. It's a
Ooh,
LinkedIn audio room that you might like as well, Fanny, where all she
yeah.
talks about is video, and she invites people to come up and talk about their video. And she gets really geeked out on that kind of stuff. Like
Love
we
it.
were talking last week, I was able to attend, and she was talking all about scripting, like to script or not to script, and then create more of an outline versus a line by line script.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love what you described, because that's what I find, like reading a script, or like, how are you going to do that? And then these teleprompters, I was mentioning that to her last week. I'm like, no, I'm like, hello, my name is Krista. I'm
Yeah.
reading from the screen. I've got to speak faster.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I really believe in having an outline of bullet points. And then I personally have where is it now? I think I gave it to my daughter. Oh, no, here it is. I have a little clipboard, and usually, like, if I'm working with someone whose topic I really don't know, or someone who's really want to make sure I answer these specific questions, well, I will prop up my clipboard behind my
Yeah.
computer. So I have a little stand. It's a cookbook holder, a transparent cookbook holder. And I know
Brilliant.
but I'm telling you guys my little homemade hack.
These are the behind the scenes tips.
Exactly. And it works. So yeah, exactly. Vicky
Yeah.
said so, but it gets, you know what
Definitely
you
at
said?
least an outline is
Yeah, at least
necessary.
an
Yeah.
outline, because oh, look, here he is, the man himself, Janaid. I was talking about you. Hello. I was talking about your fancy setup. Because earlier on I was saying a lot of people don't start shows because they're so afraid of,
Mm.
how am I going to ever get my place to look like that? And I do think, to be really honest, I do think that content, the experience and the content are important to me. So I do think when my video is blurry, or it keeps cutting out, or the background looks really dark or strange or boring, I do think that influences me when I watch a video.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I don't think it's, oh yeah, no one likes the teleprompter. Good, good, good. And sorry, do you look at your audience? Not usually. Yeah, exactly. And it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard, right? I do think that when you're starting out, you shouldn't worry about these things. Like Junaid, he is really good with this. So he can do consulting for
Mm.
anybody who's starting a show, and he'll
Mm.
tell you how to place your equipment, like what equipment you need. Zach, who's going to be on your show later this week, right? He's
On
another guy.
Thursday. Yeah.
Good, good. So Zach is another guy. So anyone watching should come on Thursday and watch your show, because he'll answer questions about the camera and the microphone and stuff
Yeah.
like that too. But I
And
think,
whoever it was that was in the audience that talked about YouTube videos,
yeah,
Zach will actually talk about YouTube podcasting on Thursday on my
perfect.
show and the equipment needed. So I think that will answer a lot of
Andrew,
those
yes,
kind of
Andrew,
equipment
I hope he's
questions.
still here.
Yeah.
Let me see. Um, yeah, he was the LinkedIn user. I don't know if he's still on here, but definitely we'll make sure he knows that. And I think that, this has been great, Fanny. We got a little bit late start because everyone listening, I forgot to hit go live. And I've been doing these shows for a while now. So
There's always something. There's always something.
seriously,
No matter
seriously.
how, yeah, I'm the
Oh
same
my God.
way. And I still remember once like we went live and LinkedIn didn't post it. Like it went live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn just like shut it down. And so we're like, okay, everybody on LinkedIn, please go to YouTube and watch us there. And so no matter how experienced, if nothing else, you learn to just think on your feet.
And not be a perfectionist. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, that's the beauty of live streaming is it is a little bit messy. So there is room for error. And if you want perfect, pre-record your videos. And it's a
Mhm.
whole different feel to it.
Yeah.
So I think the whole beauty of the live stream is spontaneity. Like your viewers get notified that you're going live. People can hop in. The comment section goes crazy. So I
Yeah.
personally prefer live streaming
Same.
at the expense of the quality.
Mhm.
And I know that when I upload videos, the quality is better because I record them locally and then upload later. But for now, I'm happy because I get to meet cool people in the comments
That's the best part, right?
and
The
people discover
connections.
you. Remember, this isn't just your audience. This is also uh, other people. So, new people might be informed that you're live. So, yeah, and I love being able to answer questions live too. You can't do that if you pre-record.
Mm-mm.
Um, so Fanny, this has been wonderful,
Thank you.
um,
Thank you, Krista.
and I think the biggest takeaway is get started. Oh, Janaid, he's happy I shouted him out. Get started, everyone, and go watch Fanny's show. So it's every other Thursday. Is that the right time?
Yes, at 4
Okay.
Central.
At
Yes.
4 Central Time, and you're
Yep.
in Texas, right?
I am in Dallas, Fort
Hey,
Worth area. Yep.
awesome. Well, we have, who's in Texas? Gabe, I think he's in Texas.
Yes, he is.
Uh,
And Rebecca.
nice.
Who else is in the feed?
So, Junaid, he's on the East Coast, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Vicky is in Ohio, I believe.
Ah,
Juana is in, New Mexico. Am I right, Juana? Um, and then DJ, I don't know where DJ is located, but I should know these things. Sometimes I wish LinkedIn next to our names would put the state and country. Do you ever feel that way? When I'm like trying to talk to
yes.
people, I'm like,
Especially during a live stream.
I
Yes.
like want to go check where are they based, and
Yes.
it would be so cool to have like flags next to their names or something,
Oh,
right?
that would be even cooler. Yes.
That would be a good topic for discussion.
Yeah,
Um,
Vicky's Cincinnati. Nice.
awesome. All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to wrap this show up. And I really appreciate you coming, Fanny. Keep up the good work. And
Thank you, Krista.
I'm going to keep watching because I feel like you have great guests.
Likewise.
And and I love how you've got yourself really organized. So I'm behind you. I have to catch up to you. So you're my role model. You're my mentor
Oh, thank
for the
you.
show. So thank you so much, and I'll be there on Thursday. Or yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
4 p.m. Central, all about gear and how to do video podcasts.
I think it's so important. We can always learn something new. We're talking about the same topics, but every person has a new
Yes.
nugget of wisdom to offer,
I agree.
or
We
just a
never
way for
stop
talking.
learning.
No, we
Mhm.
never stop learning. And I've been listening to podcasts, like I binge listen to podcasts. So I think we're giving value. Remember, these live streams get repurposed by default because right now I'm streaming on YouTube, so it will live on YouTube.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to take that step. And then someone else, there's a woman in Australia who I can't watch her shows live, but I always watch the replay. I have a little ritual. When I wake up in the morning, I watch that replay once a week. So I think there's people out there who will find you if they want to, right?
Isn't that the beauty? We're literally listening to people across the world.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. Well, I'll see you again soon, I hope, Fanny.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Krista.
And thank you to the audience. Everyone
Thank
was
you,
so
audience.
cool. Go see Fanny's show and you'll see what I
Let's
mean.
connect for sure.
You can see my show and then compare it to Fanny's show, and then you'll be like, oh, now I know why she creator tips, tools, and
Oh, thank you,
fails.
Rebecca. Yes,
There we go.
that's the
Rebecca.
upcoming show. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and see you guys soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.